Hi everyone, good evening. Share my screen. Okay, so please, if you can hear me, let me see you give me a thumbs up in the chat so that I know you are all here. Thumbs up or something. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Fabian can hear me. Anyone else? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Christy. I'll introduce myself probably in the middle of the presentation, but I'm here to talk to you about how to manage your personal money. So here's a food for your thoughts. The ability to efficiently and effectively manage your finances and investments by making smart decisions is key to your personal and entrepreneurial success. The ability to efficiently and effectively manage your finances and investments by making smart decisions is key to personal and entrepreneurial success. So, for our session today, we are going to be hearing some keywords such as income, savings, financial goals, budgeting, expenses, needs versus wants. And the objectives for our session today: by the end of this session, participants should be able to identify and categorize their personal expenses into the three types of expenses. You should be able to identify your own personal sources of income. You should also be able to set at least 3 long-term financial goals and also draw an economical budget which should lead to a budget surplus. Don't worry, if you're hearing a lot of technical terms during the session, you would understand them. So you're here to meet your instructor. My name is Christiana Amahu, but you can call me Christy. I'm a graduate of the University of Ghana. I work with the Office of Institutional Advancement, University of Ghana. I'm an entrepreneur and a volunteer at DOMFO. In DOMFO, I double as the General Secretary and the Financial Secretary. And I hope we'll have a good time in this session. So what is money? I define money as a legal tender used in the exchange of goods and services. What are some uses of money? Money is used to exchange goods and services. It's also used to purchase essential commodities. What are financial goals? Financial goals are those targets that a person sets in order to determine how they receive, give, and use money. For example, I have a financial goal to start earning a 6-digit salary after 5 years of active work. Do you have a financial goal? At this point, I want you to list in the chat box a financial goal you have as an individual. Oh, sorry, you can't hear me. Please, can you list financial goals you've set as an individual? Anybody, at least if I can get two, so that we'll continue. Hello, Priscilla, can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Do you have any financial goal you would like to share with us? I gave you an example of mine. I want to earn 6 digits salary within 5 years of active work. So if you have any financial goal, please share it with us. Prisla, Mr. Frank, Yaira, Isaac, Madam Karina, please type in the box, in the chat box, some financial goals you have set as an individual. Bless, Danny, Justice, Asem. Please, I'm waiting for you. Okay, so Isaac says his financial goal is to save at least 1 cedi every day forever. I think that's a brilliant financial goal. Please, any other financial goals? I think Isaac's goal is very achievable, you know. Any other financial goals, please? Yaira, Asem, please. We want to hear from you. Fabian, Madam Karina, we want to hear from you. What are some of your financial goals? Okay, so Mr. Frank says his financial goal is to have 250 CD savings every month geared towards health. I think that's a brilliant health insurance financial goal. My financial goal is to be a CEO after 40 years. That's also a brilliant financial goal, Danny. Thank you. Continue. So here's an activity for all of us. If you brought a notebook, you have to set at least 5 short-term and long-term financial goals. These are goals that you hope to achieve in the long term. It could be a day from now, a week from now, or a month from now. Your long-term financial goals could be in a year's time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and going onwards. Here are some general concepts in how to manage your personal money. To help you set reliable goals and achieve them, you need to understand the following concepts. Income. Income. This is the money you receive from daily or regular sources, such as your salary, gifts, investments, savings, etc. Your savings. This is the money you set aside out of your income. The money is allowed to accrue over time before yielding fruits. Another concept, expenses. Expenses are the things you spend your income on. Remember, your income is what you spend from your resources. Income is the money you receive, income is the money you receive from your daily or regular sources, such as salaries. So your expenses are the things you spend your income on. There are 3 main types of expenses. They are your fixed expenses. These expenses are necessary, unavoidable, and they do not vary on a monthly basis. For example, rent, property tax, etc. Variable expenses. These expenses are necessary, unavoidable, but they vary on a monthly basis, such as your clothes, your food, transportation, credit, etc. Fixed expenses. This means that you don't have to do away with them. There are things that whether you go to heaven or come back, you have to provide for them on a monthly basis, like your rent. If you don't pay your rent, you would be kicked out of your house. So you definitely have to pay your monthly rent. And most of the time your rent is fixed. Okay. But for your variable expenses, they can vary from time to time, like your credits. It depends on how much you consume in a month. And your transportation depends on what means of transportation you use daily. So it can't be fixed. Same for your clothes, your food, and other variable expenses. Okay. So it's either your food, those are some of your expenses. We also have the third main type of expenses is your discretionary expenses. They are avoidable luxuries and can be done away with, such as outings and going to the movies, etc. So with these expenses, you decide whether or not you want to spend on them. You don't have to spend on them. Here's another activity for all of us. First, you have to write down what the three types of expenses are. Sorry. And then next, you have to identify some of your personal expenses under these three types. So even though I've said that your rent and your property tax are under your fixed expenses, you should be able to tell what personal expenses are in your life right now that are fixed, what expenses are variables, and what expenses are discretionary according to your personal spending habits. And then type one personal expense and mention which type of expense you think it is. So this one, we'll do it in the chat box, like your financial goal. So just type one personal expense and then mention which type of expense you think it is, whether it's fixed, it's a variable, or it's discretionary. And then also in your book, you list all your sources of income. So the activity we are going to do in the chat box right now is to type one personal expense and mention which type of expense you think it is. Okay, so my financial goal is to be a medical practitioner after 7 years. Okay, so with this one, you the way you answer the question is you are going to tell us one personal expense, maybe your credit. Do you think your credit is fixed, is a variable, or it is discretionary? Or you tell us your clothes. Maybe you buy an amount of clothes fixed every month, you have to buy that amount. So just tell us one of your personal expenses and tell us if it's fixed, a variable, or discretionary. Please let's do it fast, fast. Okay, so one expense is airtime and it's under variable. Okay, great, great. Please, any more? Let's get some more responses. We are about 13 here. We should be able to get at least 13 responses. You know, doesn't take much to type in the chat box unless we are sleeping.
Christy, can you please repeat your question? Because I got a call and I just came back on. I didn't hear the last statement.
Yes, please. So I'm asking to for us to type one personal expense and then put it in the category whether it's fixed, a variable expense, or a discretionary expense. So your own personal expense, just give us one and then tell us whether it's for you, if it's a fixed expense, it's a variable expense, or it's a discretionary expense. Okay, so moving forward, Mr. Frank says paying his bills, and that's a fixed expense. Sorry, yes, I agree with that. You can't leave your bills unpaid and think, okay, it's going to vanish. You have to make room for it, and it's under his fixed expense. Okay, so another personal expense is food, and it's under fixed expense. That's the same. That's good. Yes, Madam Karina also says insurance, and for her insurance is under fixed expense, right? Insurance is one form of investment where you can do insurance for your health, for your life, for your vehicle, you can do insurance for a lot of things, but you have to make the payments monthly. So yes, insurance is a fixed expense. And buying pizza and kebabs discretionary. Yes, yes, very true. That's just a luxury. You can do away with your pizza and then go for something that is less cheap and won't consume your income. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll continue. So some of the general concepts, we have needs versus wants. The things you cannot do away with versus the things you can do away with. Okay, so for example, a student needs textbooks, but that same student may want a bowl of ice cream. Clearly, the textbook is a need, but a bowl of ice cream can be done away with for now, which is a want. The next item is budget. In drawing a budget, one must consider his income, expenses, and future financial goals. I'll say that again. In drawing a budget, one must consider his income, which is the money he receives from work done, expenses, how he spends his money, and then future financial goals, the targets he has set for himself financially on how to manage his money. So at this point, you're going to draw your own budget table. Okay, so you draw 3 tables, you number them, and then one column is for income, the second column is for expenses. So you list on a monthly basis your different types of income. Maybe you receive a salary of 600 cedis, you write it there. Maybe you will get a gift from your mother or some allowance from your father, you write it there. Or you receive a scholarship for your education, something, you write all your sources of income there for a month. And then you write your expenses, all the things you'll be spending your money on, your fixed from your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and your discretionary expenses. You list all of them in the expenses column. When you are done, you total it, you sum up the amount. So in your budget, the fixed expenses must come first in the expense column, followed by your variable expenses, and then finally your discretionary expenses. After the calculation, if the income is more than the expenses, then that is a good news. You are in for a budget surplus. Okay, so when you are done calculating your income and your expenses, you, your income is here and your expenses are here. So when you are done listing your income and then your expenses, you are going to go on to sum up the number. If your income is more than your expenses, then you are in a budget surplus. That means there's more than enough to cater for your expenses. However, if your expenses outweigh the income, then that is bad news. You are in a budget deficit. Okay, so that means you are going to be spending more than you have in your income, which is bad. That you are in for debt. You are going to owe a lot of people. So in that case, you must cut out some of your expenses to make for room for a surplus. So yes, so at this point, I put the dot there. You are going to answer this question. If you have a budget deficit, what type of expense do you think we should cut off from the budget? So please write in the chat box. If it was you and um you drew your income and expenses, which of your expenses will you cut off if you're in a deficit to make up for a surplus? Yes, so please, yes, there's another question I'm waiting in the chat box. Which of the three types of expenses do you think you should cut from? Okay. Okay. Yes, Mr. Frank is giving an answer. He says we should cut more of the discretionary expenses if we want to make room for a surplus. Okay, I don't know who agrees with him, but any other answer, if you agree to just add discretionary expense or something so that I know that you are following me. Okay. Which type of expense should we deal with? Okay, Madam Karina agrees with Mr. Frank. Any more agreements or another answer? Yeah. Okay, Bless also agrees. Great. Let's continue. Okay, so we've come to the end of this session. Like Mr. Frank said, this module 1, and we spoke on how to manage our personal money, and we zoomed into drawing a budget, setting financial goals, and making sure that our income is more than our expenses. Okay, so I hope you've learned something from this session, and I hope to see you some other time. Once again, our keywords were income, savings, financial goals, budgeting, expenses, needs versus wants. So if at this point you can name, some needs and wants, that would be great. If you can also draw a personal budget, that would be great. If you can put in your personal budget all the incomes you get and all your expenses, that's also great. And finally, if you can set 5 small, short, and then long-term financial goals, that would be excellent. Thank you very, very, very much for staying with me on this journey of managing our personal money, and I hope to see you next time. So please, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat box. I'll read it out and try as much as possible to answer them.
I have one question with regards to the discretionary expenses, and I want to know whether gifts discretionary expenses, and most especially unnecessary ones. And if there are, what are some of those unnecessary expenses or gifts that we can? Thank you.
Mr. Frank, I'm not sure if I got your question, but are you saying that if the gifts are given to you, or if you have to give a gift as a discretionary expense?
Yes, I'm giving and down. Can I?
Yes, please feel free to type it. Yes, so if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and let me know. You can type it in the chat box, and then let me know. I would read it out and try as much as possible to answer.
As possible. Yeah, my question, I don't know whether it was answered. My network took me off.
I think
Madam Karina, please go ahead.
I was thinking as I was listening to the lecture, I think the discretionary expense It's something we actually need in our lives. But I think in budgeting, we have to minimize the discretionary, because going to get ice cream versus paying a rent, when you look at the variables, it's really the difference is really great. But the amount you use in buying an ice cream and the benefits of that ice cream versus paying your rent, that amount will not do much for your rent. So in actual sense, what I'm saying is you can budget in a way that you will be meeting all your needs at the same, the actual need versus the want, because we cannot do away without the wants and we can't do away with the needs. So we need both of them. We just have to be able to manipulate the figures so that it can suit us as and when our need and our want is present.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Madam Karina. Yes, you have to prioritize your financial goals and make sure that when you're budgeting, you put your fixed expenses first, followed by your variable expenses and then your discretionary, so that when you are spending, you make sure you spend on the fixed in that order, your variable before your last discretionary expenses get the rest of your income. But yes, definitely your needs and wants are also very important, but it's your prioritization of them that counts. Mr. Frank is not writing his question, so I think I'll just leave the platform and then welcome Mr. Fabian, the next speaker. Thank you all for listening and engaging.
Father, Father.